Hi, folks. Welcome to the Arrakis fucking theme park. Try out our disappointing prophet god drumsticks. Ride the It's a Small World After All, and the person you worship is going to lead you to mass genocide theme park ride. And while you're at it, don't forget to take a photo with Stilgar. This is not a Dune podcast. This is Hitting the Mark with Harry and Mark. Two idiots who like to talk about shit we have no idea what we're talking about. And I alienated all one of you with Dune talk, didn't I? Anyway, great start. I stuttered so much. I should just give up. I should just give
Mm-hmm.
up the improv and just
Mm.
do everything with a card.
Cards.
Yeah.
Classic.
It'd be just like Fallout. I would be pre-scripted,
Mm-hmm.
and you would be the NPC, and you would get all the snarky options.
I like it.
Mhm. "Ah, you're the one who killed Caesar. Were we in were we in wait, were we not in Khan territory, I would kill you where you stood." There we go. Or hold on. Wait, I got this. I know Fallout. I have been sent in place of the man you killed, the Vulpes Inculta. Yes, there we go. I got it. I know Fallout stuff.
Yeah, you
Vulpes Inculta. Yeah. I'm gonna be that dude for Fanime. You can kill me. How about that?
do. All right. Sounds great.
So good. Anyway, folks, welcome to Hitting the Mark with Harry and Mark. This is Mark, and this is my co-host, Harry.
Hello.
And we always like to talk about things that we have no idea what we're talking about.
It's the best.
You know what's even better?
Hmm.
When I ask you how your week was, and you tell me the perfect story, but you don't say it while it's recording,
Yeah. That's my. Oh, there goes. Hey, there goes the dog.
right? It was part of the story. Since you won't tell it, I'll tell it. I mean, it's like this dog has been like causing him nothing but grief, and he just punted it
Right off a bridge.
right off. I'm in a glass cage of emotion.
Emotion. Fantastic.
Oh god. So, Ari, how was
Hmm.
your week? How was your week?
Well, it was good. So today's the beginning of my vacation. I don't work next week, which is great. So it was a slow week. Great. Um, Nothing interesting. Just the same old stuff.
Thing interesting. Jesus.
Yeah, I know.
Really
Disappointing.
come to this.
Yeah. How was yours?
I almost wanted to ignore your query just because it's been rough.
Oh,
It's been very rough.
please explain. I'm here for you.
The the tinfoil rustling was a constant reminder of my failures. Yes. I ignored that the way the JFKs ignored one of their differently abled siblings. Anywho, what ended up happening is part of the for anyone who wasn't listening, part of the debacle is that I've been working on a little anniversary gift for my lovely she person, and it's a diorama, and I've been
Mm,
just fucking up every fucking aspect of it. Um, and I finally got to the epoxy resin, and not only did I not have enough epoxy resin,
mm,
but it leaked almost entirely out of my District 9 quality containing unit that I made out of poorly cut plexiglass. Um, so I had this nice story last week how I was making this epoxy resin like little base for this diorama, and I put it on a this plexiglass, and it was leaking all over the place, and I had to take it from the kitchen table to the bedroom, back to the kitchen table, and then outside because, whatever. So I took it outside and I left it there for it to cure, and the tinfoil fell off of it and a shitload of dust came on it. And I couldn't get it out because, it's super hard to get shit out of epoxy resin.
Mm-hmm.
And then on top of that, uh, it was spottily drying and it was all lopsided.
Yes.
So that was never fun. So I'm waiting and I'm waiting and it still hasn't fully like dried, and by then it's like 48 fucking 72 hours, and I check on it yesterday, and all it is a sad thin
Oof.
millimeter of epoxy resin on this on this plexiglass where it's all leaked out already. So, um if at first you don't succeed, quit and fall into a spiral depression.
Mm-hmm.
So, hopefully tomorrow I will get some more epoxy resin.
Okay.
I will try my hand at making a stronger containing unit. Uh, the only things that I have to do left are creating a epoxy resin base and then just creating the water. So the base would be kind of like a solid turquoise,
Okay.
and then the the epoxy resin water, or the thing that I would like to be interpreted as the water,
Uh-huh.
would be colored with some pigments, and then I would just drop lay it on top of that with the little islands I made on there.
Okay.
And that would be it. Then it'd be done. I could give it to my wonderful she person, and she will be happy, and she will kiss me
Beautiful.
many, many times. But right now,
Mm-hmm.
I'm with Saladin, I'm with Socrates and Plato in this awful purgatory where I am constantly doubting my skills or lack thereof.
Sick.
I don't know if Saladin did that, but he's in purgatory, so. No, wait, he's in limbo. Never mind. They're all in limbo.
Okay.
Funny
I
thing
did not know
about
that.
the Catholic Church, they have to be able to rely on classical philosophy,
Mm-hmm.
but they have to damn the people who did the classical philosophying too. So
Ooh.
they're kind of like Indian giving, I suppose.
Fair enough.
Yeah, bastards. So that was my day. That was my week. Just trial and error and more error. Oh, I I finally figured out how to work my airbrush. So now
Oh.
I'm going to haphazardly put undiluted paint into the
Mm-hmm.
well,
Okay.
and I'm going to
Okay.
become angry and belligerent when I attempt to use the airbrush and blotches of paint come out on
Ah.
my favorite minis or models that I haven't tested other models that I don't care for yet with.
Okay. Okay.
So I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be a really great experience too.
Gonna be good.
Oh yeah, 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 of course. I'm really looking forward to it. Really, really, absolutely. I'm really looking forward to the part where it's like a Saiyan thing where it's like, oh,
mm,
you're beaten so close to death that you just get so much better. Well,
mm.
I'm hoping that my being so bad without putting in the extra work to get better will just automatically make me better.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
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 All right. Quit fucking talking about your models. All right,
Sorry.
Bear.
Sorry about that. Go ahead.
So we have to get Falcon's winter. Fuck. God damn it. Bird person and snowman out of the way.
Yeah.
So I gotta be honest. I actually thought this was the one of the, I think, the laggier episode of the season.
Yes.
I liked it overall. I think there are one or two minor gripes, but man, they everyone was like, "Oh, expect a really cool cameo," and I'm like, "Oh, cool, Julia Louis Dreyfus or Julia Louis Dreyfus
Mm-hmm.
playing I have no idea who that person is. Apparently, she's like Madam Hydra,
Oh,
but I don't know who that is. She's apparently Contessa Valentina. She has a
yeah.
long name apparently.
Mhm.
I kind of just looked up her bio and she had a thing with Nick Fury. She's a prominent Shield member, and
Oh,
she's kind of like, I guess, like an anti-hero villain.
okay.
So long story short, we'll just do the sum up. Um, Sam and Bucky get the shield from Walker. Walker
Yes.
gets a dressing down, and he is semi dishonorably discharged.
Mhm. Mhm.
He's approached by the Contessa and is propositioned for something. Thunderbolts, probably, or Hydra. I don't know. God, my throat hurts. Um, the entire episode, and I mean almost the entire episode, is a gay coming of story boat making movie.
Mhm.
And I'm down for it. I'm really down for it.
Yeah.
Uh, there's some really great like moments between all the characters, yada yada. Sam gets to practice with the shield a bit. Them playing catch with it, Bucky and Sam fucking made the episode.
Yes.
Um, Carly kind of backtracks from being a bombing extremist to like a working with bad guy extremist. I'll get into that later.
Yeah.
Um, and then John Walker decides to kind of get into the fight and be like Bizarro Captain America. When Carly hits New York with some kind of attack, I don't fucking know.
Right.
So, because I front load all of my discussions, Harry, what did you think? Give me the skinny on what's going inside your brain
Well,
with the episode, not what's normally going on inside your
oh,
brain.
okay. Okay. Let me all right, let me think about it. Okay. So the episode um it was definitely slower, definitely different than what, it was in the past couple episodes. But it was a good change of pace. Obviously they kept um hammering away at the whole, Black Captain America and why, you know, I forget the character's name, like why,
Isaiah.
yeah, Isaiah was sent to prison and not shown and whatnot, and uh it, I mean, they kind of, I was seeing some people weren't happy that they had to kind of explain, like when they're, when they're talking, when they're playing catch with the frisbee.
Yeah, we didn't realize what giving it to you as a black man would mean. We're sorry.
Yeah, like I don't know. It's one of those of like yes, we, for the most part, like people knew that that was
Mhm.
kind of like the theme, but at the same time, some people kind of need to just be bluntly told what the theme is, because some, you know what I mean, like there's
Mhm.
always speculation and like, oh no, it means this, it means that, they meant to do this, they meant to do that. It's like, no,
Yeah,
we're just gonna straight up tell you this was the theme of the
yeah,
show, episode, series. It's like,
what they're going with. I don't think they
exactly.
were ever particularly subtle, but, like, they
No.
definitely were like, "Hey, you're black, I'm white. I have, tunnel vision when it comes to racism."
Yeah.
Not well, that's not fair. They go to lengths to show that, like, hey, Bucky isn't like the all of the satirical comedy they do whenever Cap comes out of the ice in the 1940s, those
Mm-hmm.
fucking videos. But, like,
Yes.
they show that, like, yeah, he's got da, 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 da what am I saying? He doesn't see that. He doesn't see
Yeah.
it the way Sam obviously will have.
Right.
And, it took him a moment to realize that, and he was, the guys wrote him to be a big man and apologize about, not seeing that.
Yeah.
So,
And
that's all.
yeah, I mean, you're right. I think that's a pretty good description of tunnel vision. It was just, it's like, because
Hindsight always 20/20, Rick.
we're not in we're not in every person's shoes, so we can't see every person's perspective,
Mhm.
especially when it comes to race, it's a topic that are obviously really big right now. And
Really?
it's yeah, it's true in this where you like me being Mexican, like I can't be in a white man's shoes or a black man's shoes. Like I can be in the shoes of most Mexicans just because that's I was raised Mexican, so and I am Mexican, so I understand that. But in other people's shoes, like I can only get an idea so far, but
Yeah. Oh, of
that
course.
not
Like,
to the full extent.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And it's like I think one of the things that I heard that I kind of agree with is it's like figuratively this hold on. Let me just backtrack a moment.
Yep.
When I say this, this is more metaphorical, not like my actual opinion. But he says like this country is shit,
Mm,
and you aren't born clean in that sense. Like you're born and you're raised, and you get
mm,
that shit on you, and part of what all of this is not. I'm not just talking about Falcon Winter Soldier. That's it's going to water down the discussion of race severely. But I'm talking about in general as
mm-hmm.
human beings. The goal is to just slowly learn that you have shit on you and just wipe it off as best you can.
Yeah.
Or in this case, bidet it off. If we have My Tushy sponsors, no. But like the idea is that like you have this it's you don't go through life and not have it, but you don't
Yeah.
see it. And the whole idea is to be able to see it and realize like that you have it and just slowly try to get it off of you.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So anyway, keep going, Bear. I'm sorry.
So obviously, again, that was a big theme, and again, I agree with the whole, being blunt about it, because again, there's a lot of people out there who just don't get it.
Hmm.
Um, and they still had the banter. There's still the bantering. There's a don't don't hit on my sister bantering, which is great. I thought it was hilarious. Um, um,
That was a front because eventually there's going to be another rolling scene, and
hmm
they're going to be in the woods, and they're just going to just fucking go at it.
yeah, they are.
Oh man,
um,
because
uh,
when Sam was like, you just need to figure out how you can be of service to people.
oh,
That's what's going to
yeah,
happen. There's going to
you're
be like a
right.
James Bond thing where it's like, oh man, I saved you, and he's like, how can I be of service? And it's like, so free America, yeah. So
Yeah, it
yeah,
makes sense. Makes sense.
uh,
Um, sad to say Zemo go, but had to be done.
he. We're going to see him again.
Oh yeah, it's well,
He's gonna get the Waka Waka Wakanda out of there.
yeah, I would love to see him again. Um,
Mhm.
but we'll see, right? It seems like they're doing with people in these side series is kind of getting characters like Agatha from WandaVision and Zemo
Yeah,
from here and kind of just putting them in their little shirt pockets, being like, I'm going to
yeah,
keep you for safekeeping.
yeah.
Don't worry.
Shuffle.
I'll use you at some point. Don't worry. So like I said, I will say this. After you telling me about the story in the comic book version of how Falcon got the shield, I was kind of hoping more for that.
Yeah, well, the thing
Um,
is I think, I think they still will have that. I honestly think that will be something that happens in the very end. Um,
okay.
sometime along the next episode, there's going to be, I hope, more or less a one-on-one fight because as
Mm-hmm.
much as this is titled Falcon and Winter Soldier, um, they have two very different character arcs. It's not
Yes.
we need to work together. It's how can I accept that I need to become Captain America and
Mm,
how can I move on from being the Winter Soldier
yeah. That's
and
true. Yeah.
coming to that realization. And one of Sam's really big character arcs is going to be the end when he has to I mean he's already once he puts on that outfit
Yeah.
teased at the episode he's going to be Captain America. But they're going to need a scene where he comes into conflict with John Walker, and in the end, uh, points out the difference between
Yeah.
the two. Which I think that panel that I sent you does a
Yep.
really good job at explaining.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
or at least touches upon.
Yeah. So after Zemo gets captured or gets taken away, um,
Custodied.
custodied. Yeah. Obviously they do the whole boat montage. Um,
That went on so goddamn long.
it did. I
They did a
think
montage where it was like, "Oh, let's do the boat thing," and then he goes to sleep, wakes up, and they do more boat stuff.
they
Like, I
really
was like,
do.
"What? What's that meme where the guy, like, closes his eyes from him and shakes his head, and he's like, 'Wait, what?'" That was me. That was
Yeah.
me for, like, a good 5 minutes.
Yeah. And then there's a montage of Sam working out and practicing with the shield, which,
Yeah.
kind of needed to happen at some point.
Oh, yeah.
But
I loved
eh,
his, like, show off, like, front back flips.
yes,
Yeah,
those are good.
that really was, like, yeah, that's the icing on the cake for me.
Mm. Um, I I really really lost my interest in um uh the bad guys in the series, the Flag.
The Smag Flashers?
Yeah. Those.
Yeah.
I just I don't know. I kind of like. I
So
Go ahead.
go ahead, I'm sorry. No, because I wanna hear I actually wanna hear your opinion on this.
I just I've lost interest in them. They're kind of, I don't know. Like I'm so intrigued with what's happening with Sam and the Shield and Bucky that like what's happening with this Flag Smash. I'm just like, so who are these people? Why
Yeah.
are they such this like? We get it. They're super soldiers.
I
They're not the
think
only.
there's something they are really trying to make these folks, like, flawed human beings,
Yeah.
like a small little team,
Hmm.
and, like, the blueprint is there, but I just feel like something is missing. Like, they
Yeah.
like, I'm not saying, like, I don't want to care for these people, like, ideologically, like, they're in
Hmm.
my ballpark.
Yeah.
I think the writers intentionally make them, like, almost two-dimensional, like, naive, then, like, vicious libers or liberty freedom fighters, but, like,
Hmm.
there's just something not there at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah. I'm just like, and like most of the group at this point is kind of just like not okay with what's happening now, but because they're so far into it now, they're just stuck, you know?
Right when I
Like,
try to get out, they pull me back in.
yeah, basically.
Yeah,
Like at the basically there was one of the last scenes where the guy kind of like closed the briefcase of the show with all the uh
the
like
guns and
the guns.
weapons, yeah.
Yeah, he's like, what is happening? Like, dude, like you're working for them now? It's like,
But,
like,
okay, so, if I may,
mm,
them siding with Patrock, the Freak Leaper,
mm,
um, that I think would have been way better than her just deciding to bomb, uh, a GRC center. Like,
yeah,
if it had been switched, where it was like, "Oh, man, we lost one of our friends, and we just lost Mama Danya. I didn't wanna do this, but we have to side with this guy because he knows what to do."
yeah,
If it had been that, and then, like, in the beginning of this episode, she, like, moves on to bomb something, because that's, like,
right.
that's the reaction that I would have expected, where it's like,
Yeah, okay,
"I
yeah.
lost the person I love, or that I cared for. I'm going to move to drastic circumstances." Okay.
Yeah.
Then what happens in the beginning of this episode, the people that she was trying to protect are relocated and are detained because of their relationship to her.
Yep.
And then she's like, "You know what? Fuck this bullshit." Because here's the thing, I think it would have been a lot more interesting if we eased her into the radical thing, where it had been
Right.
like, "Hey, are you like I kind of like one of her friends is kind of like, I kind of like us being freedom fighters. I don't know about like siding with this dude who just kills people indiscriminately. And she's
Mm-hmm.
like, well, we have to do this. And then
Yeah.
like when the natural progression of what happens, she bombs something, and they're like, wow. Or at the friends are like, wow, I can't believe this happened. I can't believe we're doing this now. And she's like,
Mm-hmm.
same fucking thing, copy and paste. Well, it's just they had it coming. We have to ramp it up. So it's like
Yeah.
I feel like it was almost like a backtrack going to Patrock or Batroc,
Mm-hmm.
where it was like, okay, you bombed a room full of like however many people and you killed a couple people, and now you're just gonna side with like the B tier or the C tier villain. It just oh fucking D tier. Are you fucking kidding me? He doesn't even get killed in fucking Winter Soldier.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm with you on the Flag Smashers. Like there's so much potential there. I love their message for the most part, but I
Yeah.
think they reduce her to a fairly one note villain, and then they just like they make her radicalization so like over the top movie when I feel like they've at least been trying from like a fairly middle ground perspective on how like race is an issue.
Yeah.
But whatever.
Yeah. That's about it. I mean, like I said, I'm loving Sam and Bucky's storyline. I'm kind of over the Black Smashers. I mean, who knows? They might redeem themselves in this last episode, and and end it well.
Mhm.
And then we might get more cameos. Who knows? We'll see what happens, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Um, but I give this episode uh
5 out of 7.
yeah, 5 out of 7.
Yeah, I can get there with that.
Yeah.
Oh god, Harry, salute
Yeah.
me.
Ay, salud. Ay, otro.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Otra vez. Listo. Okay. All right. Things you liked right off the bat, things you didn't like.
Uh,
Just quick, just summation, just to give all one of the viewers an idea.
well, like I said, I can Sam's story. I love it. The continuation of the acquiring the shield, or sorry, not acquiring the shield because he already had the shield. Accepting to actually what's the word? Fucking
Be the
be
Eric
Captain America. Thank you.
Crampton.
There
Yeah.
you go. Sorry. Being Captain America.
Mhm.
And then the things that I don't like is just flag smashers at this point. Like just
Smack flashers.
like
Yeah.
either
Yeah.
fix it or just get rid of
I think it's way too late for that.
them. Right.
I think we talked about this before, how there was essentially they had to do a lot of rewrites and reshoots for this.
I we might have, but I don't
Yeah.
recall.
I feel like there might have been a more interesting story in there somewhere else,
Mm.
because what ended up originally being the Falcon Winter Soldier story was the story of like a pandemic.
Oh.
And because of the returned resources have been kind of pulled thin,
Right.
um and that causes like a division or an ideological slant with some geopolitics in there, where it's like, well, who gets vaccinations and whatnot, and it's like, well, let's not give it to the poorest people who might have been taken care of when the blip happened or the snap happened. So whatever.
Mm.
um so then they reshot it because it's like, you know play to the crowd.
Yeah.
So I feel
Fair
like
enough.
some of the Flag Smashers best bits were probably on the cutting room floor,
Fair enough.
because that I think is far more compelling and it's far more pointed,
Yeah.
because the Flag Smashers don't have a goal. Like they have an ideology where it's like, oh hey, we want to live in a world without borders. We want to live in a world where it's like everything is kind of democratized and everything. Well, I'm probably giving that too much credit, but like um resources are given wherever they can be to people.
Okay.
Uh but it's not pointed enough. It's like, what are they fighting for? What are they doing? Like, of course, they stole the
Mm.
super soldier serum and they're doing all this shit, but it's like, it would have really worked, I think, if there was a specific goal in mind. Falcon and Winter Soldier did a really good job by
Mhm.
making, I think, the shield this important focal point between the characters. Like, you don't deserve the shield. You'll
Right.
never have the shield. Like,
Mhm.
it's something that Bucky, Sam, and John can like pursue,
Yep.
which I think works in that sense. But again, like the Flag Smashers are just kind of like aimless. It's like they don't have a
Yeah.
very specific goal where you can either root for them or like, whatever. They're just kind of like these like nebulous people who are doing nebulous like Robin Hood shit until they become like terrorists.
Right.
But anyway, okay. So I think the fight scene in the beginning is really good.
Yes.
Um John's fucking ego. Like, I know I've been kind of like, oh, let's give him a moment. He's got all this ego. He's a tragic character. There's a moment in this fucking episode where I'm like, I feel bad. He's got a bit of PTSD over what happened. Da da da. He's like
Mhm.
crying, and then it goes straight into like back to old John, back where it's like,
Yeah.
oh hey, give us the shield. Listen, we'll try to make sure that you're okay. And then as soon as like it gets in his head that they're after the shield and that like they don't think he's good enough, it just goes straight to his end. He's like, oh yeah, I'm Captain America. Da 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 da. I'm
Yeah.
more than willing to try smashing your fucking head in.
Yep.
Um, them fighting for the shield, I thought was really good. Bucky just grabbing it and dropping it next to fucking Sam's body.
Mhm.
So, will you take the fucking shield, Sam?
Yeah.
Um, John getting the dressing down, I thought was good. I turned to my girlfriend. I was like, that Congress dude is a bigger fucking dick than John Walker.
Mhm.
I don't know what it is. I always have a particular disdain for people like that in film where it's like, oh, you're doing a good thing, America, liberty, and then just completely, stabs people in the back, and then
Yeah.
throws characters like him under the bus.
Mhm.
And as entitled and self-absorbed as John is, he actually makes a very true statement: is that he's everything that they wanted him to be,
Yeah.
everything in every sense of the word.
Mhm.
Um, and the only reason they're throwing him to the wolves is because he did it publicly.
Yeah.
They wouldn't have cared had he, swept this under the rug.
Mhm.
Um, I'm I like Julia Louis-Dreyfus, but I would really like her to have a more fleshed out part. Um,
Mm.
I want to see what they do with her a lot. I really do because I get the impression that her and Thaddeus Ross are going to be the two who try to do the Thunderbolts. It seems like, but
Yeah.
I don't know if this means that John is going to go from like Captain America to American Agent,
Mhm.
which is his usual title. I don't know. Doesn't matter. Um, there's something I wanted to point out that I like that kind of
Mm.
just dropped my fucking mouth a little bit.
Mhm.
Um, so we see Isaiah,
Yes.
which is something I didn't mention. I didn't forget. Like Isaiah, um, we sit him down, as in Sam, not any of us. Harry and I weren't there. And we kind of get an idea of what exactly happened, and it kind of goes to show you the inequality and the disparity between Steve Rogers and Isaiah.
Mhm.
In 1944 or whenever, Bucky is captured and experimented on. The Howling Furies are all captured. There are a bunch of American POWs or Allied POWs in a Hydra camp. And sad little ass Steve Rogers is sitting there drawing a picture of himself as a trained monkey and decides once he realizes that they're all imprisoned against orders, drops in to this base, frees everyone, and comes back Captain America. I want to point that out for a moment, okay?
Mhm.
He's Steve Rogers. I get that like the propaganda has him selling war bonds as this dude in a fluffy suit with wings,
Mhm.
but he is Steve Rogers and comes back Captain America. the hero that everyone knows, the man who will do what is right.
Yeah.
Okay? Isaiah does the exact same fucking thing and is in prison for it.
Yep.
I think they mentioned it was Korea, but he goes to save a bunch of what I can assume are these other black test subjects
Mhm.
that are not faring as well as he is. And there are orders just to let him fucking rot. And he goes behind enemy lines, he wrecks these fuckers shit, and he gets them back. And he gets 30 years in prison. And they have to fake his death apparently to get him out. And he's just a faded just echo. And they
Yeah.
try to point that out too, where it's like, you really think that it would do anything if they told my story now? Which is it's heartbreaking. The more and more I hear about Isaiah, the more and more it sucks. And
Mm.
I would like to point out, I think this is more an issue of writing and less an issue of just the Captain America character, Steve Rogers himself. But I'd like to point out something from Game of Thrones. In the book, Stannis Baratheon is not a jackass, and absolutely not jackass.
Mhm.
He's got like a messiah complex. He's a little arrogant. He's fucking ruthless. But like, as much as I like John McClaney, I think his name is, or whatever his name is, the Stannis in the show,
Mhm.
despite season five's really awful blunder, he's nothing like he is in the book.
Mm.
Um, the problem with Stannis and his relationship to Ned Stark in the show is that Ned, being a super honorable fucking dude, actually dies and puts his trust on the line getting this message to Stannis. And Stannis, as he's portrayed in the fucking show, is like, oh yeah, oh man, I'm gonna be fucking king, whoop de fucking do. He might as well like face fuck Melisandre out of excitement, right? Like,
Yeah.
dude, I am so amped and ready to fuck shit up. And let me just point out that Ned telling Stannis about all of what he experienced in King's Landing in book one and season one, he's partially responsible for all the bullshit that Stannis does in book seasons 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Oh.
I want to point that out. Like,
Mhm.
him giving him this information, whatever.
Right.
In the show, this puts Ned's judgment and his integrity in question.
Mm.
So you see what I mean by that, right? Like, Ned Stark is an honorable dude. He's okay judgment, but he's a guy who tries to do the right thing.
Right.
And then sends this message to Stannis, and Stannis literally fucks the Seven Kingdoms up, like royally fucks the Seven Kingdoms up.
Yeah.
And this puts Ned's judgment into question when we watch the show. And this isn't like a, oh, maybe people are multi-tiered and nuanced. This is just bad writing.
Mhm.
Um, this is a problem I ran into as soon as I heard this story and I thought of Steve Rogers. I'm like, okay, so he was made Captain America, was frozen for 70 years, comes back. Okay, I give him the benefit of the doubt uh, when this timeline happens, but he literally goes back in time to an alternate reality where he gets to live out his fucking fantasy and then
Mm.
does what exactly? Like, I listen, I get it. Like, he's Steve Rogers. He's not like an ultra spy. He can't just like worm his way into all facets of government and know everything that's going on. But I find it a little hard when I think of the fact that Steve Rogers gets a second chance at life,
Mhm.
and there's no instance where he doesn't possibly try to figure out how to make the world a better place and doesn't come across a character like Isaiah Bradley. I don't know. I really don't know.
Mm.
But I thought of that for a moment. I thought like, okay, well, he gets his house. That's great. And Isaiah Bradley in his other universe still gets his 30 years.
Hmm.
And Steve Rogers just comes back again. He's like, "Oh, hi, Sam." No, I don't think I will. And then, like, don't get me wrong, like that ending I think is perfect for him. Like,
Yeah.
just you gave everything that you could. Listen, we're not trying to tell you to be selfish, but like we can do this without you.
Hmm.
And you've put everything on the line, yada yada. He gets to go back in time, you know, he gets to fucking rail Peggy like a million fucking times in this universe and whatever. And comes back and he gives the shield and it's like, "Oh, it's so cute. Oh, it's a nice little ending, da da da." But the more and more I think about it, I'm like, there's nothing that he could have learned in a different way or done in a different way or like tried to do in this other universe where he dropped the other stone in. I don't know.
Right.
It feels strange, and I know I'm not making a direct one-to-one comparison with the Stannis Ned thing, but God, I feel like I'm on this way too much. It just feels weird. It
Yeah.
just it puts I think the writing kind of put them in a corner where it was like, well, Steve isn't the bad guy, but he has, just like Bucky, he has bad hindsight, tunnel vision, right?
Yeah.
Um, but it just gets me in a way. He gets this other life, and it's like he doesn't do anything with it. He doesn't do anything. Well, not that I know because we don't explore it, but I don't know. It just feels weird. It's like, oh, he didn't know about Bradley. Oh, he couldn't see this coming, and it's like, I don't know, man. I don't know. He gets like another 70 years at life and he gets to actually be like 100 something years old
Hmm.
and there isn't a single instance where he considers possibly the ramifications of giving a black man in a racially charged era in American history. Like, I don't know. I don't know. That's just me being a contrarian, I guess, or convoluted asshole.
Hmm.
I hope you understand where I was going with that.
Yes. No, 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 I get
Okay.
it, and you make a valid point. I mean, you're right. Like, I mean, me playing devil's advocate, like maybe he really put himself under a rock once he went back in time, just because obviously there is another Captain America out there, and he doesn't want to change any other history
Hmm.
other than just being with the person he wants to be with the most. Other than
Yeah.
that, he doesn't want to change anything. He doesn't want to do anything. He's just, this is it. This is what I want, and this is,
This is my perfect life. Yeah.
yeah. And he got it right, and that includes not messing with anything else. Like, he tried to stay away from news, and well, I
Yeah.
guess we don't know because like you said,
Oh,
they don't
Google,
explore it,
what's that? Oh, Mac? Apple? I've never heard of that. Sounds like a really good piece of food to me.
right?
Fucking Steve.
But yeah, it's just stuff like that. Like, I'm pretty sure, Steve Rogers being Steve Rogers, he didn't want to change anything else.
Mm.
Like, because the whole butterfly effect and all that stuff. Like,
It's just I think of who he's portrayed in at least the movies,
mm-hmm,
like
mm-hmm,
the Star Spangled Man with the plan, God's righteous man, as Ultron calls him, and it's just I imagine there's a moment where some kid is getting beat up, some kid of color probably,
mm-hmm,
and Steve would just, I don't like bullies no matter where they're from. And he
mm-hmm,
just grabs the guy's fist and just kind of throws him 10 feet. And the kid runs away and like yada yada.
mm-hmm,
But it's like when I think of this, like, I get everything I want universe, I almost think of like, I'm not going to lie. For a moment, I think Steve just bows his head down and lets it happen.
mm,
When I see that, when I listen, I don't mean to I'm not trying to make this a big deal. Like, I'm not trying to say, "Oh, man, Steve Rogers is terrible." Like, "Oh, no, no, no." Like, we don't know anything about the universe that or the past that he jumps into and creates a parallel universe when he does that.
right.
But, like, when I hear about Bradley's story and then I, like, compare it with the fact that Steve Rogers literally gets a second chance at life, It it makes me kinda run through that, like,
Yeah.
does he just not be the guy who does the right thing anymore? Like, he's literally a superpowered human being who can do
Mm-hmm,
anything, and it's like, he has been called to his entire arc, is about developing a degree of selfishness. And
Yeah.
I don't mind that. It's not like someone is using Randian philosophy, like Ayn Rand philosophy, to make him like a selfish person. But the
Right.
idea is like you've given a lot, and you are always the person who is always there at the door when people call. But
Mhm.
you deserve happiness. That's not what I'm arguing against.
Right.
It's just I hear of Bradley and I'm just like, where the fuck could have Steve been
The whole time,
during
yeah.
any of this? And it just breaks my heart. I don't look at
Yeah.
Steve in a different way necessarily, but if you think about it for long enough, you're like, okay, this has to be an issue with the writing. Not I'm not knocking anyone, but I just feel like something had to have been done. I don't know. And anyway, I'll move on from it. I'll move on for because I know I'm just restating a bunch of shit.
Mhm.
Um, Sam develops an understanding of community-based help, like helping the community and whatnot. Something that Carly has been trying to essentially talk him into doing.
Yeah.
Um, he enlists everyone who his parents helped, and they kind of contribute. And it's a very powerful moment. I mean, I think it's underdone a little bit, just how important it is because I think that's the point. That's what Carly is trying to argue, and that's what Sam needs to understand.
Yeah.
Because uh, the whole idea behind the hero and the villain is that both of them have similar drives. It's just the difference in attaining it. Um,
Yes.
at the end, supposedly at the end of the movie, at the end of the show, the main character is a synthesis of his own original values and some of the villain's values. Black Panther, uh, not Iron Man doesn't really do all that much. Uh, and this isn't all the case. It's not like Steve becomes a Hydra agent at the end of Winter Soldier, but he ends up becoming distrustful of the government and distrustful of like hierarchical organizations. I chose like Black Panther because I think it's the best example with a really
Mhm.
good villain because T'Challa has an ideology and he is against sharing technology and helping the world. He's an isolationist. And Killmonger sees and is a product of what that isolationism has done to him in the world.
Mm.
Except he is made to be an extremist. T'Challa sees this. Through a couple of other techniques, he is shown to be wrong. Or not wrong, but he's shown to be lacking. And realizes at the end of the movie, we need to help people. I just need to be, well, we need to help people. We just need to not do it in this extreme way.
Right.
Um, that's what I like about Sam is that in the beginning, it's like he relies on this establishment instead of relying on the community that has been there for them the whole time, or that would have probably been there for him the whole time.
Right.
Um, the montage is good. The frisbee bit I think is my favorite part of the show so far.
Yeah.
Um, fucking them just going through emotional bullshit while tossing the fucking shield around like it's a fucking frisbee. Oh my god. Oh hey man, you gotta get over your demons. Throw catch. Oh yeah, I know man. Just whatever. The throw catch. Um, I would have liked a little more discussion about some of Bucky's hangups, like when he did the
Mhm.
whole, truth talk, or you want some real talk right now. I really would
Yeah.
have liked some conflicted dialogue throughout the show, where it's like, well, how is this helping you? Are you sure? Like,
Right.
what I have a problem with is where it's like he has this thing that he has to get over. Like, oh well, it's not just about these people that you've been fighting. It's about the people that you've wronged that you need to make amends with. And I
Yeah.
really would have liked if Sam challenged him on that, where it's like, there's this great bit as we were talking about, I think in episode 3 or 2. Um 3, when Zemo's busted out and they're in Madripoor and Bucky has to just let loose as the Winter
Yes.
Soldier alter ego. And I would have liked a scene where Bucky is talking to Sam and Sam asks him if he's okay and Bucky says, I've put in the work not to be this person.
Mhm.
And a fight kind of goes because Sam, I'm not trying to give Sam like a dickish personality. I'm just trying to say like he disagrees with him and Bucky
Mhm.
doesn't understand. And then it kind of gets stopped there because of movie hijinks. And
Right.
then you continue that discussion in this episode where it's like, you're not putting in the work. And he's like, of course I'm putting in the work. I'm fighting not to be this fucking murderer. And he says, that's not what I mean. You're only focusing on one part of it. And the hardest part is the part that you're not focusing on. Because
Yeah.
that's an intimate moment, and I really would have liked if it had been built up to a little more of a conflict. Because I don't feel like these characters have too much of a conflict to begin with. Like the real conflict is the fact that like Bucky just doesn't get how terrible structural racism is and how it can affect Sam in this way. But I really thought like a thing that's kind of crippling Bucky is that, like, his inability to move on in the way that would help him most, and
Right.
Sam sees that. That's what I really like about Sam in this episode, is that Sam is a trauma expert, and he sees what
Yes.
Bucky's going through, but something is preventing Bucky from putting in that work. He obviously wants to take out all the Hydra goons that used him while he was doing this, because that's easy. And they set up in the first episode that arc really well. Like,
Yes.
hey, I I want to. I'm literally palling around with this guy whose son I just fucking murdered in cold blood. But what bothered me is it was just dropped in terms of like direct action for
Mhm.
most of the season, and then it's like, hey, let's do some therapy while tossing a frisbee, and then let's do snarky banter and then part ways.
Yeah.
I still think that's powerful. I still think it's really good. I really want to see that resolution. I'm I I know Marvel's probably going to do the thing where it's like, "Oh, I forgive you and it hurts," but like I really want a moment where Bucky apologizes as best he can and it doesn't work
Yeah.
because that's the work that he needs to put in. Like it's great that he got his memory back. It's great that they took the programming out, but this is work that he needs to do that he in the beginning of the series hasn't done. And if the guy just immediately forgives him despite, putting him through years of pain and agony and just hanging out with him like they were best friends.
Yeah.
uh, yeah. Um Again, ladies and gentlemen, I'm harping on this a lot. I really did like this episode even if it did lag. It was a little too much like breathy for me where it's like let's get all of this stuff that we need to get out of the way because it's the second to last episode and we didn't address it before, but I
Yeah.
still um I'm excited to see what they do with Zemo. I really do like that bit with Zemo and Bucky. It was part of what I was talking about before. It's not that it was easy. That was a hard thing for him to do, sparing Zemo.
Right.
Um, I never had the impression that Bucky was ever going to kill Zemo in the first place, so I didn't really
Me
worry
neither.
about. But that didn't feel as powerful as I thought it could have been. It was still good. Um, I'm excited to see Zemo again because I mean, come on, he's not going to be in a Wakandan jail cell for the rest of the fucking franchise.
Of course not.
Um,
We hope not.
oh yeah, I fucking hope not.
It
Yeah, Sharon Carter is the power broker.
is. It kind of just screams it, right?
Yeah, they did the one little throwaway scene where it's like, "Oh, I got you out of prison, didn't I?" And it was is it Patrock or Batroc?
I, I don't know.
Fuck it, doesn't matter. Batroc.
Doesn't
We'll
matter.
go with Batroc, the free Cleaper.
Yep.
Um, where she breaks him out and is like, "I'll pay you. I got a thing for you." So it's like she could
Hmm.
be playing both sides. She could be doing something. Doesn't matter. Um, John Walker goes. I think I don't really know how important that is. Goes and apologizes to the Hoskins family for the loss of their son.
Hmm.
Um, God, they just really they're giving us a whole bunch of different sides where it's like John is clearly not a good Captain America,
Mm.
but, like, he's getting all of the wrong, like, advice, like, no one is telling him what he needs to hear.
Yeah.
Um, the Hoskins family's like, "Yeah, we're so proud." Don't get me wrong, like, I don't expect everyone to have the same opinion, and if the Hoskins family's son looked up to this guy, then they're gonna respect him too, but, like,
Right.
he is not hearing any of what he needs to hear, just, like,
Yeah.
"Put the cookie down. Just fucking stop. Just stop. Just take the outfit off and just relax." But he doesn't do that because in the end credit scene, he just
Yep.
fucking makes a he DIYs a shield. He went on YouTube, as all the fucking memes did, how to make Captain America shield, and he fucking does it. And he
Yep.
fucking, for better measure, he puts his medal on there too to
Mm.
distinguish himself from the shield, which is another fucking thing that means he doesn't understand what that means
Yeah.
because he puts vanity on the object, on the symbol, his vanity. Um, one of the things that I always love, you can argue with me on that, or anyone can argue with me on that, but like, I always have the impression that Steve never believed the shield was his. It was a tool that he
Mm.
could relinquish. But what's interesting is that, like, John Walker obviously believes that the shield is a part of what it means to be Cap and cannot let it go.
Yeah.
He cannot. Like, that's literally why he creates another shield in the end credit scenes, because it's like he thinks it is just like the super soldier serum, just this piece of what makes Captain America. And it's great because it's like s- uh, Steve constantly questions his whether or not he, deserves the shield. It's not his. It's not a part of who he is. He uses it, and the symbology is warped around who he is, but he gives it up without question the moment he feels that he's unworthy of it because it's not his. I would also
No.
like to imagine that if the Wakandans were just like, just give us the fucking shield, dude, he'd be like, yeah, you know what? Fuck it. Yeah.
Mm.
I mean, maybe. You'd probably have to fucking do some writing gymnastics for that. But like, I just find it really interesting. I really do how they work around like the character dynamics between these people. Cause it's like Steve is always humble and it's never God, I'm always on his dick. I swear to God.
Mm.
It's
Mm.
never about him or his possessions. He's just Steve Rogers embodying Captain America. And John just can't was never able to get past that because it's the symbology that he wants,
Yeah.
the power that comes with that.
I get behind that.
Yeah. Anywho, fuck it. Good episode. I'm looking forward to the next one. Oh, fucking by the way,
Yes.
I don't want to see Steve Rogers in the season finale.
I also do not. I think I truly believe it. We won't be seeing Chris Evans in
Mhm.
any more. Like the only time I can think of like maybe like a flashback or something like that, but other than that, I can't. Like it doesn't make sense for current Steve Rogers to be in any more Marvel stuff.
I could see him in like one or two as like old Cap if he's actually still alive, maybe. But I agree.
Yeah,
Um,
because they never really answer that, right? Like we don't really know if he's dead or if he's just like he's done.
yeah, like I have a feeling one of the things that they'll do, and I will shit fucking bricks, is and not in the good way. Is this bit where John Walker like trips Sam and he's about to like fuck him up with a shield, and like Steve grabs it because I don't want there to be a moment where Steve comes to Sam's rescue
Yeah, agreed.
because they've made a good point of saying like we looked up to this guy. He was a good man. I think his example really helps, but he is not the end all be all. We are
Right.
here. We're still the people to do it. And it's like I'm really hoping they don't do anything with him. Like, if he's dead, let him be dead.
Yeah.
Seriously. Um, I think it would cheapen Sam's story. I know in the beginning when we were talking about the first episode, I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm really interested well where Bucky's coming from. I'm more interested in his story." I'm I liked his story a lot. They didn't do enough. I'm way more interested in Sam's at the moment. Like
Yeah.
seriously. I mean, hold on. Let's be fucking honest real quick. I think everyone's more interested in fucking Zemo's story, but
Truly, yes.
but like I expected Bucky's story to go in a different location,
Mm,
and it didn't. And I feel they stuck a little more with Sam's in a more coherent way, and I appreciate that. And I've
yeah.
liked Sam's story a lot more since about the oh I don't know the third episode.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
So
this series is obviously about Sam becoming Captain America, and they stuck to it. Obviously, they showed where Bucky was coming from. They showed where John Walker was coming from. Zemo, like they led up to what this series was. But they led up to the main focus of the series: Sam becoming Captain America, and they did a really good job. Again, not happy about the bad guys currently, but like I said, we'll see what happens with the final episode. You know what I mean?
yeah,
It's
agreed.
there's still one more episode. It could blow us out of the water, or it can leave us not very satisfied like WandaVision did. Um,
Yeah, I'm sensing what could possibly be a pattern. These shows seem to start very strong. Oh, hold
mm-hmm.
on. I'm going to wait until Loki comes out before I make this statement.
It's true.
I'm
Just because it's too like yeah, I
it's
gotta
too
see a third one.
because this episode coming up could
Mm-hmm.
actually be very good, and there's again just a couple missteps, and I don't mean to say that WandaVision was ruined by its ending. Its
Of
ending
course
was
not.
not at all. I just felt there were some things that we had been preconditioned to as MCU fans that were not met or used.
Yes.
Um, and I feel like we were getting used to that for Falcon Winter Soldier, but we're still in some of a way uh still built to kind of see things in a different way
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
with this. Anywho, um yeah, if however, if Spider-Man does not fucking come out and teabag John Walker like web teabag, like, oh hey Mr. Stark, oh hey, oh wait he's dead, oh hey Mr. Rogers, oh fuck he's retired, oh hey Mr. Walker, I'm just gonna do teabag. Just I'm gonna be so mad,
Yeah.
so so mad. Fucking Tom Holland, well, fucking punk ass, you better get in.
Is so speaking of Spider-Man, the new Spider-Man, he's not in Queens, right?
Yeah, he's in Queens.
Oh, he's in Queens. Okay.
Yeah,
It's not
yeah,
too far from New York. It's like right there, right?
Queens. So it's Manhattan, the
Uh-huh.
Bronx,
Bronx.
Brooklyn.
Brooklyn.
Uh, so from south to north, I believe Queens is to the east of Manhattan.
Okay.
I can't quite remember. God damn it! I wish I
No,
had that. My
we're
dad
from
showed me.
California. Doesn't
Yeah, fuck
matter.
that. My dad, so
Yeah.
fuck it.
Okay, so
Um,
but Spider-Man should be in the area to do something. But
yeah, he can just fucking, you know, Spidey sense from 10 miles away.
yeah. I mean, I just feel like I guess that was the one thing that I didn't like about a lot of superhero movies where they're kind of like where the hell's all the other superheroes?
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
that goes true to me when it comes to like the DC universe just because s- how Superman is, you would assume he's everywhere, but certain DC movies don't like have Superman at all. They just have that one superhero, and then it's like
Mhm.
So Superman just doesn't exist in this world. Okay, got
Yeah.
it.
Part of that is just like the logistics of having fucking that many actors
Yeah,
actually like before they actually nailed down getting Robert Downey Jr. for Civil War, like he wanted a massive amount of money for this movie. And I can't begin
makes
to tell you
sense.
how many fucking like how many pay raises a lot of these actors got for fucking Infinity War and Endgame. So that's one like disappointing hurdle.
Right.
Um Another one I think too is like I don't necessarily want huge team ups. Like I love Falcon and Winter Soldier as an
Mhm.
idea.
Mhm.
Um but I am wondering, I am of the wondering how much fanfare you can get away with without taking away like their story. Like if
Yeah.
imagine how out of pocket, how out of left field it would be if jokes aside, I don't necessarily want Spider-Man to come in, but like
Right.
if John Walker literally gets his fucking taint kicked by like Spider-Man and he's you just get like this random 16-year-old. Oh, hi guys. Hi, Mr. Wilson. Oh, you the Falcon? Oh, are you Captain America? Like you get like that like stuttery, awkward kid in the middle of
Mhm.
like this weird emotional geopolitical drama.
Yeah.
That'd be cool. Don't get me wrong. Like, oh hey, it shows like some continuity. Like, there's shitloads of superheroes that are fighting crime in New York, and like Falcon and Winter Soldier just happen to come across. Like, that's fine. But I think thematically it doesn't quite work.
Yeah. It's funny because the way you're describing it just reminds me of Barry the Flash in the DC universe right now. It's like he's that character
Hmm.
for
Yeah.
DC. I'm like, huh. Yeah. No, yeah, like I don't know. Like I don't know how I would feel if Spider-Man just came out of nowhere and maybe not fought John Walker, but helped them fight the other super soldiers, you know?
Yeah, but it's like Spider-Man's already proven that he's like dummy stronger than like Bucky. It's like why the fuck can't Spider-Man just do this shit on his own? And then you have to explain like, oh well, he's in hiding because he got outed. His identity was out. And, we
Mhm.
can't put him in because like he's on the run.
Right. I still
So
haven't seen the that second
oh
Spider-Man.
no. No. No, don't tell me.
No, you didn't. It was already. Sorry. I've already seen things.
Okay, good. I was worried.
I haven't seen the entire movie. Like I obviously know the gist of what happened and everything, but I just haven't seen the movie. It's
Mhm.
on. It's like owned by Stars or something. I don't know. I don't get the whole like how like because Spider Man's still owned by Sony, right? Technically.
Yeah,
Yeah, I get that. That's why.
that shit breaks my well, I don't fucking care.
At this point, yeah, I don't care. You know what's funny? I know I'm going off topic. This is just what we do. Um, Livy and I started rewatching Marvel's movies, but we started with the first X Men just because we were talking about it. And what sucks is that X Men Part 3 is not available anywhere.
Oh, I don't give a shit. Last Stand. Last Stand is awful.
It's still, you know what I mean, continuing the story and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah, rewatching it, the first two, um, for like I think we discussed it before. Like for what they were really good. I'm glad I rewatched them.
They're still good. Like
Yeah.
going back and watching them as like for what they are. Like they're
Yeah.
a little goofy now, all things considered, and they're a little slow, but they take a lot of time to get to know the characters.
Mm-hmm.
And they drown out a lot of comic book material to give you a very, very, very pulpy story.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed that. I really did. At the
Mm-hmm.
time, I don't quite care for them now.
Right.
Um, but they built, absolutely built what we use as a template for modern day superhero movies.
Mm-hmm. They really did.
And I mean, Batman Begins, Dark Knight Rises gets almost all of the credit now because it's like those three movies are the the three consistently successful movies of the 2000s for
Yeah.
superheroes. But like the turn of the millennium, we literally had two or three really good superhero movies, like really good,
Yeah.
that weren't over the top, which didn't fucking have bat credit cards or anything like that. And X-Men was one of them.
Yep.
Very human, very relatable people. I still think the whole like race allegory was a little. It doesn't quite work anymore.
Yeah.
But it's still immensely enjoyable films.
Yeah.
What else are
Agreed.
you going to be watching? Are you doing the Spider-Man movies too?
Because we just finished watching Iron Man 2. So I'm going off of whatever's on Disney Plus. I completely forgot about fucking Spider Man. I
You
don't
have
think.
to watch the old Fantastic Four, like the really old Fantastic Four
Got
from
with
the 80s,
Jessica
90s.
Alba.
No, 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 the older ones
No.
from the 80s or 90s.
Oh
Yeah,
God.
yeah, it's really
Am
bad.
I even gonna be able to find them?
Oh no, God, no! You're gonna have to waste man hours, time, effort, stuff that you probably shouldn't be doing.
Yeah, no, no, no. I'm gonna go off Disney Plus and I'm gonna just go Marvel Studio stuff at the moment. And then again the whole Spider Man because obviously it follows um so it follows Marvel Studios universe. So I feel like we kind of need to watch it, but
Hmm.
I have to figure out how to watch them
Yeah, fair
because
enough.
yeah, I'll
But
figure
are
it out.
you thinking of doing Fantastic Four?
The one that's coming out or
No, no, no.
the
The three
thousands.
older ones.
I don't know, man. I don't think I am.
Do yourself a favor. Do.
Do?
Yeah, do. Because when they finally figure out when they do what they want to do with the new Fantastic Four, you'll you'll shit.
Okay. Okay. I'll give him another watch.
Hmm. You're gonna love it.
So I haven't seen the second, well, I guess third, but the one that came out, the most recent one with
Fan
the
Four Stick.
yeah, that one.
Mm.
I've not seen that one. I was never planning to, just because
Oh well,
you know,
it's a good thing that your friend just asked you to, and that you were completely obliged to.
yeah, this is true.
Honestly, you're not missing anything. I don't think they do a particularly good job with any of the characters.
Mm,
Um, they don't do a particularly good job with Doom either. I'm talking like he's one of the greatest fucking villains in comic books, and like they just reduce him to like I'm evil.
yeah, yeah. We'll see. I mean, hopefully they bring him in. I mean, obviously they're gonna have to bring him in when they bring Fantastic Four into the Marvel Studios. So
They
I think
honestly, I I just want them to name drop Latveria. I just want them to do
mm,
something because it's like one of the things that I haven't been a big fan of is, with the exception of like Wakanda,
mhm,
they've been like, oh, this place exists, like Sokovia, or like the movie it's supposed to be introduced, where
mhm,
it's like I'm not a big fan of world building when it like is exactly meant to happen. Like I would
right.
really like Latveria to be like, oh, well, w- fucking, it would have been a great moment. It would have been a great fucking moment.
Mm,
They didn't own Fox at the time, so they couldn't do it. But would have been a great moment if like, uh, oh, okay, Avengers: Age of Ultron.
yeah.
It's still the beginning of the first act.
Mm,
Um, it's when they arrive at Avengers Tower
mm,
and they're talking about Sokovia. And Megan Hill's character, or Megan Hill, is like, "Oh, Sokovia, it's a backwater, whatever. It's got it's not really going anywhere." And she should have said something like, "It's wedged between Russia and Latveria, so that's what all you need to know."
mm.
Because Latveria is another Eastern European country. Just like fucking the minutest of references would have been fine.
Right.
Just to know that it's there instead of like the movie Doctor Doom is introduced. He's like, ah, yes, look at this country Latveria that we've never heard of until now.
Right.
But that again, n- uh, that doesn't matter. Long story short, if they introduce Latveria and Doctor Doom the moment Fantastic Four happens, in the moment like they're meant to introduce them, that's fine.
Yeah.
As long as it's done seamlessly and like believably instead of like Latveria and six. I don't know.
I mean, they have plenty of time to bring stuff up. They
Oh yeah, plenty.
have they have side story, or these side series, and then they have fucking movies, and so I'm sure they have plenty. And same thing with like the X-Men, right?
Oh yeah.
Like down the road, they have plenty of time to introduce characters and other lore and all that stuff. So I'm
hmm
excited. I'm excited for down the road.
Oh, me too. Um, I don't know. I keep hearing this thing about a Wolverine anthology series.
Huh.
I don't know how valid it is, but I keep seeing something on the internet for it. Apparently, there was some leaked thing for Disney Plus about Wolverine. I don't know. They might want to be
Oh,
introducing him sometime. I don't
yeah.
know. I honestly say just I really want them to just treat him like a normal fucking character instead of Hugh Jackmaning him, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, I get it. I get it.
Like, I I really enjoy the fact that like Tony Stark wasn't the end all be all character. And
Right.
I got that impression with the X franchise. Like they had to try really hard to distance themselves from him. And in the end they still brought him back as like the only character that you need to fucking care about.
Yeah. Multiple
Like
times.
so there's X-Men 1, 2, and 3, there's X-Men Origins, there's fucking uh then they have to do
Wolverine.
First Class. Yeah, then there's the Wolverine. But then they do First Class and they can't make the fucking movie without referencing him,
Yep.
at
He's
least for
he's
like 5 seconds.
he's
He
like in
has to
it.
be there.
Yeah.
Like I get like it's contradictory to what I was just saying where it's like, "Oh, we have to introduce Latveria." But it's like it makes sense that they're recruiting and they come across a surly Canadian dude, but like it doesn't need it necessarily.
Yeah.
Just the same way Avengers: Age of Ultron wouldn't have needed a Latveria reference because it doesn't fucking matter because it's not pertinent to the story. But
Yeah.
I'm going crazy when I feel like Wolverine was literally made the viewer avatar, if you know what I mean, right? Like the
Yes.
guy that we empathize with and are introduced through. Um, where am I going with this? Jesus fucking Christ. Um, So I'd really like us to yeah, sure, I like Wolverine. He's a really great character. He was everyone's favorite in the fucking cartoon,
Yeah.
but let's not, like, give him that exact same, like, god worship attitude that everyone gave him for fucking 20 years.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know who or I almost said Cyborg, booyah. I don't know who Cyclops is. I don't know Aurora Monroe. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know fucking, Jean, like, I get, like, Dark Phoenix, but, like,
Right.
I wanna get to know all of them. In
Mm-hmm.
fact, Hank fucking McCoy sounds fucking awesome. I'd really like to see him. I'd
Mm-hmm.
really want to get to know all these people, and making, Wolverine, like, this overly, like, character avatar-y kinda character just kinda, like, removes possibility for other characters.
Yeah. One
So,
one
yeah.
thing that popped out to me in the first two X-Men movies is Storm in the first movie has an accent.
Right!
It is gone in the second. That one
Yeah, they were just like
really, yeah, I was kind of like, maybe it's still there, but no. They they got rid of it. Like, okay. I mean,
yeah.
okay. It's like, what the hell?
I really love the Toad character.
Mm-hmm.
God, Toad has a wicked time, as do you, Senator. God,
So
can
good.
we just take a moment to like point out that it actually did a really good fake out where it's like, oh, these two really cool characters have a lot of character and background together, and one of them is after Wolverine. What? And then you find out that
Yeah.
Wolverine's just like he's literally the main character, but not the focus of the movie.
Yeah, and it's funny because like even though I have already seen the movie and I know the outcome, I was also still kind of like, oh yeah, like, wait, why is he after Wolverine?
Hmm.
And then I'm like, oh, that's right, I remember now. Like the scene when they're in the train, that's why I'm like, that's fucking right, I remember
Who said it
now.
was up to you?
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
but
good.
you know what I realized? What I was thinking to myself is like
Mm-hmm.
the reason they made him so focal is because of his backstory. It's like, how do you weave in him needing to get his memory back and getting his memory back and exploring all that
Mm-hmm.
while making an X-Men story that isn't technically entirely about him?
Right.
You make him the main character, and then
Mm-hmm.
you do a bunch of stories that are technically focused around him. Like, I get X-Men 1 and X3 X-Men United isn't or, Last Stand isn't
Mm.
about him, but all of X2 is technically based around his relationship with William Stryker. William
Yeah.
Stryker was gonna attack the X-Mansion no matter what and all this other fucking bullshit, but it's
Right.
like they had to weave in that relationship and that, like, the fact that he headed the Weapon X program, all
Mm-hmm.
of that. So it's like you can't have a story about a guy with amnesia and all these pathos and, like, dramatic bullshit and just be like, "Eh, well, whatever," because they couldn't
Right.
just give him his own spin-off.
No.
They had to weave in the story of X-Men with him being the guy without the memory and like, "Oh, we'll go find the memory at Lake Alkali," and then whatever. So,
Very true. But yeah.
dreary view.
I'm excited to see rewatching Iron Man 1 and 2, like little things that, are obviously little hints for the future, like Tony Stark having the Captain America shield.
Mhm.
Like
"Oh,
I
do you know what this is?" And then he just uses it as a fucking, like,
to
boost.
balance, yeah, to balance it out and shit. Like I
So good.
I didn't know. And so like when I saw it, I was like, "Oh, hey, that's." He's like, "Do you know what this is?" Like, "Yes. Give it to me. Give it to me." Like I was like, "Holy shit." Like I didn't understand. And the whole um I don't know, like it's just rewatching them is great because it's like I get the little like
The hindsight references.
the hindsight references. It's
They
great.
they reference funny enough, they reference Wakanda at the end of the second one.
They do. Hold on.
Yeah. Yeah, you didn't know that part,
Oh
did you?
wait, is it
Um,
when at the very end when they when he's sitting when Fury's
when he's
sitting
Nick
down?
Fury, yeah.
Yes, 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 yes. You're right. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
They're like, "Look, Wadanka."
Yeah.
Yeah. All those, like, those little bits too, when you're like I remember too, it was like, I didn't know any of this shit.
Mm-hmm.
"What's Wakanda?" And, like, no one knew, and you had that one fucking idiot in the theater who's like, "Oh my god!" And, like, that number of people just slowly started to fucking grow and grow and grow.
Yes.
So, yeah. That's just the power of, like, this franchise where it's like, you've gotten, like, shitloads, and I mean shitloads of people to start either reading the comics or reading the wiki pages about all these fucking people and these stories.
Mm-hmm.
So, hats off to
And
them for their best advertising for comic books.
mm-hmm. And that I think is a good transition to our next topic.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You mean the topic where you reminded me that they're not working on another Jack and Daxter game?
Exactly.
You fucking asshole. Chat, fucking viewers. So, I'm waiting for him to send me, like, something on our chat, right? And I didn't look at it for, like, a good day. I didn't know what it was,
Mark
but he
tends to
sent
do
me
that.
an image. I know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But he sends this image and like, I'll see it in a bit. I'll see it in a bit. My anxiety's killing me. So it's 2 days later. I'm looking at it, and it's a fucking Twitter post from Naughty Dog or some news outlet about Naughty Dog. It says, "News: Naughty Dog people are stressed working on other projects, wanting to work on Jack and Daxter fucking sequel." And I'm sitting there thinking, so they're not working on a Jack and Daxter sequel, and fuck Harry, because he sent me this knowing that I want a Jack and Daxter sequel. Fuck you. A Jack and Daxter sequel would be the equivalent of like eating candy
Mhm.
right before bed. Like,
Mm,
I'm not saying the trilogy is perfect, but like for an early 2000s PlayStation 2 trilogy, and we're calling it a fucking trilogy. We're not talking about the Jack X Racing or the fucking the PSP game. No, shut the fuck up. It was a solid story. There was more to
yeah,
tell, but I felt like as a trilogy it was fairly closed.
yeah,
And they've talked about always wanting to like, oh, we'll do a reboot. Oh, we'll do a sequel. Oh, we'll do like a kind of a remix or like a retcon. So you
yeah.
just remind me that it's never going to fucking happen.
Sorry about that.
Fuck you. I'm
Well,
just
I
kidding.
was gonna bring up the Kryptonian epic.
Mm, mm, yes. So let me point out
Mm-hmm.
that Max Landis describes things with the enthusiasm of a 15-year-old who just discovered blowjobs for the
It's
first
very
time.
true. This is very true.
Like, and is openly able to discuss it to any and everyone.
Hmm.
So let's just point that out.
Yes.
I think the appeal. No, you know what, Harry? I'm sorry. You introduced it to me. You mentioned it last week. You slipped the tip in.
No, 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 no. I want you to tell me your opinion of it. No,
Okay.
no hold bars. No,
No holds barred. No holding that barred.
don't
You
hold
let that
that
barred go.
barred.
Okay. Um, Max Landis's enthusiasm, I think, is the best part of these stories.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he gets a little off the rails when he's just sitting there and his hands are like flipping up and down, explaining what's going on, and he sounds like he's fucking having heart palpitations. But he's a fan,
Yeah.
and he is excited by his own intelligence,
Mm-hmm.
as any fan is when they tell you fanfic. I literally knew a guy in college, as if I went to college, who told me his fanfic for Mass Effect, and it was literally just an hour of him talking about two shepherds and how there's like, oh, it's like it's super meta because like there's the Paragon Shepherd and then there's the Renegade Shepherd, and they're both two people, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's it's actually nice seeing this guy create stories that I think I'd actually enjoy.
Yes.
Uh, let's break this down real quick.
Hmm.
Harry sent me a photo of his junk, and
Yes.
I was like, "What does this have to do with Superman?" No, Harry sent me a playlist pertaining to some of the stories that Max Landis kind of just has in his head, pertaining to kind of like a reimagining of the Justice League and the DC universe. I started with two that I think everyone would hate, but I really like. He reimagines Jimmy Olsen, and he also reimagines Lois Lane. The former to like a more drastic degree. He's a young person, a gay person of color, who grows up in the Midwest, and he moves to Metropolis, and he uh, begins work. I actually was really interested in his take on the Daily Planet.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
how it's kind of like a worker co-op almost. I'm probably interpreting it wrong, but he makes the point of saying that like it's more of like a labor owned or like an employee owned news group.
Yeah.
It's still owned by a fucking billionaire group, so it's like that. It's unrealistic, I think, as far as co-ops. But I
Yeah.
like the idea of like these multiple groups coming together and they're self-regulating and da da da, and they work for the betterment. Like, I like that.
Mhm.
I like the idea of Jimmy Olsen starting off as like a fashion critic and working his way up to like investigative stuff and slowly becoming like this character associated with Superman through investigating Two-Face. Um I don't like saying this is real world because it's more implying like the things the individual person sees that they can relate to in their world.
Mhm.
It's like when people say this Man of Steel is like a realistic depiction of Superman. It's not a realistic depiction. It's a depiction where you share a commonality with the day to day of these characters. Not day to day. I mean, like, I don't know how to put it. You just never fucking say realistic because when
Yeah.
you say realistic or in our world, it's just people interpreting their specific world and what they want to project and see into there. Whatever.
Mhm.
Um, what I'm talking about with Lois and Jimmy Olsen is a ground up mentality to these figures.
Mhm.
There's this really interesting bit when I watched the second episode. I really liked the Olsen episode, but I really liked Lois Lane's episode because Lois Lane is investigating Batman.
Mhm.
But she's not necessarily investigating Batman. She's investigating this low-level mobster character who's kind of like a spook almost, like this guy who's just a ghost. And this somehow is related to the Batman. And I like that there is an investigative slant to it. Um, Lois Lane is given like work to do. She's given like a lot to do trying to investigate this character. Again, like I get the impression Max Landis loves the sound of his own voice, so he comes up with this really convoluted, makes sensey kind of way for him to figure out the relationship between what is his name? Matches Mahoney, Matches Mahone,
Matches Malone. Something like that.
Matches Malone. So he figures out that Matches Malone is actually the Batman and figures out like the flight pattern of the Batwing and like where the fucking Batmobile is coming from. Like this is pretty good groundwork stuff for like how intelligent she is, how resourceful she is, what Batman is doing in this world. I find some of the like she interviewed top assassins thing kind of like, okay, well you went through the trouble of like examining how glass breaks because of a stealth fighter still having reverberation on glass, but but then it's like, oh well, we just interviewed the top assassins in the world. Like, there's like a kind of disconnect where it's like, wow, that's really in depth, and then that's really vague. Um, but I like the idea of a year one Batman where it's like this figure is as Max Landis describes Lois Lane describing it, a group of multiple people attempting to destabilize the infrastructure of organized crime in Gotham. And they're doing it through the relation of this character, Matches Malone or Mahone or whatever.
Yeah.
And this guy is like non-existent. But you get the idea that it's Bruce Wayne infiltrating the mob and organized crime and then using this information to essentially like Batman these people, which I think is really cool. I actually am not gonna lie. I like that aspect. Too often you have this bit where it's like he just appears and stops everything or just knows where to go. And I like the idea that uh during this year one reimagining, he is actually kind of researching these people.
Mhm.
I like that. I really do. I like that he has this alias where he's, you know, a mid-level capo kind of crook who is able to put these things together to kind of understand the inner workings, gets close but not close enough to get fingered, right?
Yeah.
And then uses the research that he's used on the ground to start to like assume the identity of the Batman. And I'm describing this rather poorly, and Max Landis is describing this at like 50 miles per hour with a lot more adjectives involved.
Hmm.
Um, but he follows Lois Lane, essentially trying to piece together who Matches is, and finds out that this character, or theorizes that this character couldn't be one person because they're it's just it's too sophisticated of an operation. Like one guy has to be doing the body work, of course, but like someone has to be coordinating him, someone's got to be like bankrolling him, someone's got to be like training him. uh they make this talk about, I was talking about jets and broken glass kind of vaguely, but uh she's following like maps,
Right.
and she's investigating like, okay, well, why is the Batmobile and the Batjet Batwing coming from the east at Gotham Harbor and Lower East Side and all this shit? And it's like she finds out that like in the north side of Gotham there's like repeatedly broken glass in the high-rise buildings, and it's because, as he puts it, the Batwing is actually circumnavigating. He's coming from the north side and faking his entrance to the east side, and the same thing with the Batmobile. The Batmobile is using these cave networks underground parallel to the subways and coming in from the opposite side. Um and then she combines like structural engineers and like a bunch of like maps and whatnot, and realizes that like all of this is coming from the north side, where predominantly like the rich upper crust groups of Gotham are. And that the northern portion of Gotham County, which is like Greenland, Temperate, and all that stuff, has a large neighborhood of bats. And the reason that they've been like acting all crazy lately is because of the supersonic fucking jet that just happens to be flying from the north, bringing them down to Gotham City. Um, this is the kind of guy who, Max Landis, has been thinking of this stuff either for a very long time and is trying methodically to think of like how to incorporate every single fucking aspect of Batman and the mythology
Hmm.
into his story in a logical way, or like he's literally just coming with the shit off the top of his head. Um, but I liked I liked these two stories mainly because I liked the bottom up, the groundwork up foundation
Hmm.
that they were doing. In Jimmy Olsen's story, they talk about how like uh, since the advent of the Batman and the Superman, there's been an escalation. Um, and he goes to interview survivors of bank robberies, and there's seemingly like no relation between these like string of serial bank robberies that keep happening, because one group survives, the other one doesn't. They're all gunned down. Some survive, some don't. And he realizes that the person doing this is Two Face, and he's just flipping a coin to decide whether or not to kill these fucking people. And Max Landis says a really interesting thing, which is Harvey Dent existed as a human being with eyes on him, public eyes on him, before these people emerged and became Two Face and adopted the same like theatrical symbolism that they are. Uh, and I thought that was really kind of interesting. Um, as if the world kind of existed and then was heightened into absurdity the moment these people came into being. Um, which I do think is pretty interesting. Um, I personally like the idea of a completely normal Harvey Dent. He has like this college graduate with like a swept under the rug like psychological evaluation of a dissociative identity.
Mm,
which is interesting. I mean, I think it would make more sense. I've always just liked the idea of like an ex-alcoholic. Like, there's
mm,
not much to it, but I do think like an ex-alcoholic, dirty district attorney who actually wants to do good is a fairly like bare bones story, but it's something that I think is a little more workable.
mhm,
Uh, what they seem to be going with is like a degree of sophistication, yet embracing some of the theatricality, like the insanity and some of the really lean in tropes and archetypes of Batman, which is good. I like that. It's
right.
interesting. Um, but I've always been I don't know. Two Face has always been my favorite Batman villain,
Hmm,
and I don't necessarily know how I feel about like Two Face has always been the God. How do I put it? There's a really great bit in The Killing Joke.
mhm,
This is the one where Barbara Gordon, the comic where Barbara Gordon is paralyzed and Gordon is tortured nearly to the point of insanity by the Joker.
mm,
There's a scene where Batman and Gordon are in Arkham and they pass by Harvey Dent. And the comic book has this really great like effect because you know how it is. It's like comics have always been kind of fucking with how you perceive the comic. One
yes.
half of the comic page is Dent, and the other half of the other page
Mm,
is Two Face. And this really kind of shot that I didn't really get that much into the Killing Joke. It's a good book, don't get me wrong,
mm,
but not just something I was invested too much in. But there's this really great moment that stuck with me where after that page, Harvey Dent looks back and looks on his friend, someone who was very much like him
mhm,
and went in a very terrible direction, which is what the Killing Joke is about. Gordon could have very well become what Harvey Dent could have been,
right.
or the Joker. Um, I like the idea of a character like Harvey Dent who is not psychotic at all,
Mm,
who has human flaws, who is like an alcoholic. I like that because Jekyll and Hyde is a story of duality, and it's
yeah.
typically an allegory for narcotics abuse or alcoholic abuse. Um, as someone who knows people associated with Alcoholics Anonymous, I know that a lot of alcoholism deals in duality: the person that you are versus the person that you become when you drink. Um, and I think if I was going to ever create a story about Harvey Dent, it wouldn't be so in the mythos of Batman
Mm,
that it would be like Max Landis's, where it's like, oh, he developed a dissociative identity that he swept under the rug to run for office. Nah, I would be
mm,
fine with some of the more, I think, tangible things about him. Maybe
mm,
he's, like I said, an alcoholic. He's dirty, but I like the idea of him being more of a pragmatist,
okay.
and some of the dirtier aspects of him rub off, or he
Mhm,
tries to rub them off, and he doesn't. He's ultimately unable to clean his soul, and which is where the second personality comes in. I
right.
I again like beating a dead horse. I do like the idea of this character not being psychotic to begin with, and
Mhm,
then becoming this character. I want to because I love the idea of him and Gordon being friends before Two Face even exists, and I love the idea
yeah.
of them trying to clean up the streets together, or maybe Gordon and him Gordon and him are adversarial. I because
Mm,
when I think of DC, I tend to think of Superman a lot, and I think of
yeah.
the point behind Gordon. I mean, the whole point behind Superman is Superman interrupts the wheel,
Mhm,
as in the cycle. Uh, and I apply that to stuff like Batman, where it's like I imagine Harvey Dent is like the first guy on the scene. He's the guy who comes in when he's in his late 20s, early 30s as like an assistant district attorney. He wants to do good. He gets
Mhm.
bogged down by politics, and when he's like 40, that's when Gordon comes in his late 20s and tries to stop that wheel, to stop that cycle, and bring something out in Harvey Dent. And then 5 years later or something, or however much time,
Right.
it doesn't have to be that age, but Batman comes and
Mhm.
breaks that cycle. So it's kind of a compounded effect, but um Batman's involvement also creates Harvey Dent.
Mhm. It's
So, I don't know. I just like the idea of these characters being a little more human and a little less in the vein of like the mythos of Batman, where it's like there has to be this degree of insanity. All of Batman's characters are insane.
yeah.
I don't necessarily agree with all of what he says about Batman's characters. He makes a point at one point saying that all of his characters are insane. I don't think that's the point. Freeze isn't insane.
Mhm.
Penguin is just affluenza. I mean, he's literally the affluenza kid just with penguin hands.
Yeah.
I don't know how fucking crazy the Riddler is. Deadshot isn't. Bane isn't. Bane's a hyper intelligent fucking Latin American who just likes breaking backs.
Yep.
So, anywho, I like it. I know I went off on a tangent, but I like his enthusiasm for it.
Mhm.
Uh, it's different than the typical like neckbeard who wants to tell you their like fanfic. I'm interested in seeing the next couple of videos.
Mhm.
Um, but I for the longest time I haven't really been all that impressed with characters like Jimmy Olsen, Superman's best friend, and
Yeah.
Lois Lane. And I picked those two for that reason.
Mm.
And I liked where they went. I mean, I felt Jimmy Olsen's bit in the end. I couldn't quite grasp all that much because I had to watch a bunch of other stuff that I haven't seen yet.
Mm.
But the beginning of building him up and giving him a very structured background, I thought was good. He does a really good job at giving people backgrounds
Yeah.
and giving people information. I'm not sure how well he does with themes. I haven't seen anything, but he's mentioned, the Arrow Vigilante and the Blue Beetle, and I'm
Mm.
interested in seeing where all these characters kind of are built up from. Because
Mhm.
if they're anything like how fucking Lois Lane is with investigating a a con mobster turned vigilante billionaire who's actually an actual billionaire turned vigilante. That'd be interesting. I like to see that.
Yeah. I'm I'm glad you like it. And you're right about Max Landis, the way he's always going like 150 miles per hour when he's explaining it. Like I obviously get the gist of it. I enjoy his storytelling, and I agree. I love his enthusiasm behind it. Um, like I personally haven't heard a lot of fan fictions from other people because I don't really discuss fan fictions all that much.
Mm.
This is like the first one that I'm hearing, and I'm really enjoying the way, like you said, the way he describes it. If you like those two, which I agree, those are probably like um my favorite characters um in his story, and just the way he kind of like I said, explains other, like, they're not my favorite stories that he's
Mhm.
talked about, but they're definitely one of the two characters that I appreciate the most in the world of Superman,
Yeah,
you know?
because I think one of the things that when fans want to come up with stories for
Mhm.
these characters, it tends to be very wish fulfilling,
Yeah.
and like it tends to be more like what they imagine what they would want to do as this character.
Mhm.
Um, and when they have to get in the details, it gets bogged down. There are other people when doing fan fiction where it's like they have to hyper focus on every minute thing, and all this
Mhm.
world building and all this explaining bogs down what story you're trying to tell.
Mhm.
I
Makes
feel
sense.
like Max Landis is sometimes on the verge of doing that. Like, here's the thing. I feel like Max Landis is trying to make Game of Thrones and
Yeah.
explain everyone's plot threads without writing them down himself.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's explaining how a Pulitzer Prize winner is investigating eventually who Batman is in year 1.
Yeah.
Um, and all of this is detailed, don't get me wrong, this is what, like, fans love, like, "Oh, yeah, oh, that's so cool, that's so smart. Man, yeah, yeah, yeah." But, like, I wanna see, like, what these characters do, like, who they are, instead of it just necessarily being
Mm-hmm.
a lot of information thrown at you all at once. Because here's the thing, if a lot of information is thrown at you all at once, it sounds really good and it looks really good too. I got fucking pumped when I heard Lois Lane, doing the whole investigation. But it's like it's gotta go somewhere. It's gotta do
Right.
something. It can't just be like, "Oh, I found out you're Batman," and then like, "Oh, okay, whatever."
Yeah. So obviously he Max, like the order that the playlist is in is basically from the first video he put out down to the newest one. Um so obviously you were watching them in the order that it should be, but at
Yeah,
the same
I
time the way Max talks about the story, he kind of brings stuff up like the Blue Beetle and all that, but doesn't spoil a lot.
okay.
So if you don't watch the Blue Beetle video, you're not spoiled. It's like there's the Blue Beetle. You
Yeah.
want to you want to know what the Blue Beetle is, you can go watch the Blue Beetle video, stuff like that. And I think that it's okay to, like, pick out the ones that you want to watch, and then down the road you'll kind of put everything together. Um, there's obviously the somewhat longer ones that explain more chunks. They're more story driven instead of character driven. I think that's what I like about his story, or his Kryptonian epic, is that the Lois Lane video and the Jimmy Olsen video are basically Falcon and Winter Soldier and WandaVision. They're side stories of the
Right.
characters to build them up so you understand where they're coming from and who they are. Where, like, the other longer videos are basically the movies. Was it There's one of the big ones is Superman Agent of Batman, like
Yeah, I've
that.
seen I've seen the stuff for that, and I'm interested in getting to it.
So that's like basically like it's very similar direction wise, because obviously he makes the video himself, and he directs it. It's very similar to the way he did what's the Death and Return of Superman, his
Mhm.
big YouTube video. It's very similar like that. He's just sitting down, he's just talking, and then he has, he kind of like has people displaying stuff. So it's like that, and he kind of goes about the story of Superman, Agent of Batman. And then basically he talks about Lois Lane and Jimmy Olsen. Like, he talks all these characters, and then later he has these videos that he talks about the characters, builds them up. Like, this is who Lois Lane is. This is who Jimmy Olsen is. This is where Batman's coming from. This is where Superman's coming from. So I really like the way he's doing these, because you want more, you want to learn more about these characters, and he's actually giving it to you. He talks
Mhm.
about the characters, explain things, and then, like, he's currently working on the next big video. Basically, Agent Batman Part 2. It's not called Agent Batman Part 2. Forgot what it's called, but it's basically the sequel, the next video, the next big story, big plot point. And so he's kind of just building it up with more character development of people who are going to be in it and all that. So I'm excited. Even though this is not a, this is not going to be on Disney Plus or on TV. It's just a YouTube video, but it's, I think it's like you're saying, like, appreciating a fan, a real fan, who's going out of their way on making a video, spending their own resource. I don't know if it's going to be monetized or not, but for the most part, spending his own time, his own money, making this
Mhm.
video of the story he's created that he loves so much. And like you said, he's very enthusiastic about it. And yeah, I get pumped about it too. Like,
Mhm.
there's a video that just came out where he talks about He's talking about the character. Where is it? I was just watching it. Um, where? Oh, he talks about Superman's best friend, Pete Ross.
Mhm.
So that's the newest video of the Kryptonian epic, and I've watched most of it. And it's actually pretty interesting. Where he develops that character, and you kind of learn a little bit more of where Superman's upbringing came from. Um, and it's cool. I like you said, the details he goes into when it comes to the characters. Um, it's yeah, I think like I said, when it comes to DC, like with what Snyder's doing, it just I feel like Max Landis is giving me what I want plus more.
Mhm.
And I think the way you described it really good. And I love that you watched it because hearing it from you, I get even more information out of it. Just because I think you you retain the information better, and then you can explain it way better than Max going 150. You kind of slowed down to like a solid cruising 20 miles per hour that I can be like, oh, okay, yes,
I
that
think
makes more
unless
sense.
I practice it, I tend to be very spotty instead of
Hmm.
I would prefer to be a little more chronological about it, and then
Right.
once the audience has the information, I kinda
Hmm.
just recollect back. But thank you, I do
Yeah.
appreciate that. I try at least.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm just Max Landis is giving me an epic. I love that he's named it Kryptonian epic because that's what is being brought to the table, and I love it. I'm excited for the next video.
Mhm,
So much lore being thrown at me, and like you said, the way he's bringing certain characters, he's building them from the ground up, and the world that is portrayed in the Kryptonian epic is so similar to the world we live in now.
mhm.
Like I explained the week before, where social media is a thing, but like if you watched,
Yeah, they explain that too in the Jimmy Olsen bit.
yeah,
I was actually surprised they didn't address that with Lois Lane, but they talk about how it's like he rises in the ranks through social media
mhm.
and, and all that other stuff. Anyway, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, and he brings it up multiple times. It's a thing I think he brings it up in Agent Batman, and I think some other videos with oh, forget the character's name, the Magic Lady, Z
Zatanna.
Zatanna.
Yeah, who they mentioned, like, Lex Luthor had in captivity for a while to live forever.
Yeah. So basically, yeah, so he, and that's what I love, right? So he brings up the social media stuff in multiple videos, and um it's just that's what our world is now. It's social
Mhm.
media. Like the thing that I was telling you about the whole Clark Kent and Superman. It's like everyone knows that Clark Kent is Superman and Superman is Clark Kent. It's just he keeps denying it, but it's like, dude, like you're just wearing glasses. You know
I
what I
like
mean?
they mentioned too, I like that they mention, no one's ever been able to get a photo of Superman. Like, he through his own, like, fast fucker abilities
Mm,
has kind of just obscured that, and I like that. Oh, Lois Lane's dating Clark Kent, da 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 da, and whatever. I really enjoy that there's no Godzilla 1 buildup. It's
yeah.
we don't know these people. What I enjoy is the mystery surrounding revealing them.
Mm,
Like, we all know that if this was made into like a movie or a comic, we're like, oh well, this is obviously going to be Batman.
yeah.
Uh, but a Lois Lane comic where it's like we're investigating who the year one Batman is
Mm,
through like his connections with the mob. Like, that's interesting shit. Like,
yeah.
Jimmy Olsen investigating Two Face and a string of fucking like flip a coin, kill the fucking hostages in a bank rob situation like 5 times in a row. That's pretty interesting. Like, that's fascinating stuff. And then it turns into, wow, I'm investigating the Caped Crusader of Gotham. Or like,
Mm,
wow, I've somehow built up a working relationship with Superman, the Superman.
Yeah.
That's something that I find interesting. It's
Hmm.
like it's less looks into the camera, I'm Batman, or like looks into the camera, I'm Superman.
Hmm.
It's more, as I keep saying, from the ground up. It's like, oh, I'm investigating this person who has not established themselves yet as the Dark Knight of Gotham.
Right.
And
Yeah.
then they build into that in Max Landis's kind of way where it's like, oh, these are the people.
Hmm.
These are the people eventually, but like that's not who they are before.
Yeah. Exactly. And yeah, I really enjoy that too. They're the best way to describe them. They're very human.
Hmm.
They're not like, yeah, they're quote unquote superheroes, but they're making mistakes, you know. And
Oh
it's
yeah.
like that's one thing that like for some reason every superhero movie has, where it's like they don't make mistakes. They're 100% perfect. It's like this is the where you can really relate. Like, yeah, even though you have superpowers, you can fuck up. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I didn't know how I felt about like the interaction
mm,
uh Clark has with Jimmy in the end, but like
yeah,
that felt like a somewhat real interaction. Like
yeah,
I liked kind of the Clark giving Jimmy like a list of like these stupid goals.
yeah,
But like I mean, it might have been a little corny for me, but I did like it. It felt like,
yeah.
you know, that they were friends. It felt like
Hmm.
Clark did make a mistake and he owned up to it. And even then, he's still the magnanimous Superman.
Hmm. Yeah,
So I'm interested in seeing where Superman comes from in this story. So
yeah. I'm excited for you to watch more, and I'm excited for a later discussion of what you think of just the story, not just the build up and characters, but the story of what comes after, um, basically, basically the Man of Steel, um,
okay.
plot.
Yeah, all
Um,
right. I'm
yeah,
interested.
yes. Um, we've been going on for 2 hours. Man, we have been on a spiel for three
Right? I
weeks
just
now,
can't
going for
get you
two
to
plus
fucking
hours.
shut up.
I know,
Jesus.
right? But yeah, I mean, I think that's all on our agenda, but is there
Yeah.
anything else that you want to bring
Oh,
up?
yeah. Folks, I have tunnel vision. You know, uh, talk about race issues quite heavily and how, comics like to lean in them pretty hard and how movies like to appeal to the broadest possible criteria so they water them down. But that's an argument for another time. While talking about the race issues and the struggle that black people go through every day, we neglected the Hispanics because Joaquin Torres is now going to be the next Falcon, and no one, and I mean Harry and I did not mention that, and I feel really fucking bad because that was one of those moments that I kind of fucking hate, but I'm glad where it's like, oh hey, what do you want me to do with the wings? Turns around, looks at the camera, hold on to them for me, walks away.
No, he says keep them.
Oh fuck you, Harry. But yeah, keep them. But like,
Yeah, and
yeah,
I get it. I
we're
get it.
we're going to get our first. Okay, hold on.
Huh?
Uh, the actor in Ant-Man does not count, but we're technically going to get our first Hispanic superhero in the
Ooh,
MCU. Yeah,
sick.
yeah.
That's good.
So
That's good.
that's it's. I mean, I don't believe it's the exact same way. I think like someone experimented on him. And he gets like weird falcon wings.
Mm,
But yeah, giving him the wings and having him like remake them is pretty cool. And uh, it's pretty awesome that Sam is probably going to get Wakandan vibranium tech bullshit too. So
right.
yeah, props to them for throwing in Joaquin Torres. I thought they would have done a little bit more with him, but I'm really looking forward to seeing him in the future
Yeah,
with wings just kicking ass.
I'm sure he's gonna kind of be what Falcon was to Captain America. I think
Yeah.
it's just going to continue. I
Mhm.
think it's like we're discussing. It's a build up to what is going to happen in the next movie, and like again, we obviously knew from the end of Endgame that Sam was gonna pick up the shield and become the next Captain America.
Mhm.
There's just the backstory of how that came about, and also who the next, Falcon is gonna be. It's kind of like a given that someone's bound to become the next Falcon. It's just who, right? It's not,
Yeah.
you know. So
I
it's
got rid of my Beamer for an Audi. You can have the Beamer.
yeah,
Someone must have the Beamer.
you're not wrong.
Yeah. But I almost felt a little bad not mentioning that because I really wish they did more with Joaquin Torres, and I wish they like built that up a little more. Like they did
Mm-hmm.
enough in the first episode where it was like, "Hey, I like this kid. He's a good kid. Keep investigating," and
Yeah,
he's always been kind of like the exposition guy.
yeah.
So I'm interested in seeing what they do with him because I'd like him to become a bit more of not an integral character, but give him a little stuff to do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because I'm worried that they've now given Sam Anthony Mackie the role of Captain America,
Mm-hmm.
and the character of Falcon will now kind of be like the mm, how do I want to put it? The value of the character will
Mm, okay.
depreciate.
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, so Steve was Cap. Everyone loves that Cap. He's gone. Anthony Mackie's Sam is now going to be Cap, and he'll be pretty good. And now, like Falcon in and of itself as the superhero, probably didn't have all that much going on in the movie franchise.
Mm-hmm.
And now, with an actor who's just getting the role, who didn't get all that much screen time in the first place, might like just get like the bare minimum. And I hope not.
Yeah.
So I hope they do more with him.
Mm.
But yeah, yeah, Joaquin Torres, baby. Green
Woo!
and yellow never looked so good. I could see you as Falcon. Oh man, you with some uncomfortable looking bird wings on the back of your arms.
Mm.
Graceful, like Black Swan.
Perfect.
All right, fuckers. I think we're gonna call it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Outro. I can do this. All right, folks. If you want to rewatch any of this, you can hit us up on YouTube at Hitting the Mark with Harry and Mark. If you want to email us, tell us how shitty we are, any recommendations, any questions, you can hit us at hittingthemark2020@gmail.com. And if you'd like to hit us up on Twitter, see what we're talking about, I need to use it because I'm not fucking doing it. You can hit us up at capital H, capital T, capital M underscore podcast. Repeat. HTM underscore podcast. I did it. I fucking did it.
You fucking did it.
Oh my God. And to think all I did was just ruin the intro with the Dune joke.
I
Ah,
thought it was
fuck.
great.
Thank you. You know what, Harry? I needed that. I needed that to get me through the night. Now I can sleep because quoting Dune. I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death that brings total obliteration. I will hold on. Hold on. I got this. I remember it. I don't. It's gone. Anyway, fucker, we're signing off. You have a wonderful evening, folks. Harry, you have anything you want to say?
Grab scrabble.
Grab your scrotum. Gotcha.